What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 17.
Millionaire Maker. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay guys, this is for the Millionaire Maker slate, which is the Sunday main slate at 1 p.m. Oh, and stick around to the very end of this video. After I show you all my picks in the Draft Dashboard tools, I'll show you these players in DraftKings and in FanDuel, the Millionaire Maker slates. There'll be 2 spots open that you have to fill in, but you'll have a great Millionaire Maker core.
Okay guys, NFL Week 17. Let's take a look at the quarterback position. So my Millionaire Maker quarterback, I'm going to save some salary on this pick. I like Daniel Jones from the New York Giants playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Daniel Jones has averaged 18 fantasy points per game on the season. He's getting an average of 7.3 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 13% owned, projected at 17 fantasy points here in Week 17. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 1,600 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 39.5 points scored in this game, with the Giants favored by 5. Now, Daniel Jones has scored 25, 10, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He got 4, 10, and 4 rush attempts in those games. So it's a decent matchup here. We saw the Colts play the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And I think these Giants are going to be able to score a lot of points here versus the Colts. And I think Daniel Jones is going to be a big part of that fantasy production. He scored 25, 10, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So 25 fantasy points last game. I think he can score 20 fantasy points or more in this game. And you're getting him at a discount. Although he does have a high ownership, I'm not worried about that. We'll pick some lower ownership plays at the other positions to make it a good tournament lineup. So I like Daniel Jones here versus the Indianapolis Colts.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So my Millionaire Maker running back is James Conner from the Arizona Cardinals playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have the 5th worst defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. James Conner has averaged 15.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 13.9 rush attempts per game and 4.6 pass targets per game. He's also going to be about 13% owned. And I like this pick because he's on the field for 72% of the snaps, projected at 16.2 fantasy points here this week. He's 7,200 DraftKings salary, 800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 41 points scored in this game, with the Cardinals trailing by 3.5. So James Conner has scored 25, 18, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, up of 15, 16, and 15 rush attempts, on top of 8, 5, and 7 pass targets. So I like James Conner here versus the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So my Millionaire Maker wide receiver is Jacoby Myers from the New England Patriots, playing the Miami Dolphins, who have the fourth worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Jacoby Myers has averaged 13 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.7 pass targets per game, and he's going to be about 9% owned. He's on the field for 78% of the snaps, projected at 11.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 5,000 DraftKings salary, 1,700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 42 points scored in this game, with the Patriots favored by 2.5. So Jacoby Myers has scored 20 and 6 fantasy points in the last 2 games, off of 7 and 6 pass targets. So I like Jacoby Myers here versus the Miami Dolphins. And you know what? I did say we were going to put in a lower ownership play into this lineup. So you know what? We could just change it up right now, or you could play either of these guys, but let's just change it up here. Let's just make our Millionaire Maker quarterback let's make our Millionaire Maker wide receiver Brandon Cooks from the Houston Texans, playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 9th worst defense overall. They give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Brandon Cooks has averaged 10.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.3 pass targets per game. So he's on the field for 80% of the snaps. And why I like this pick as a tournament play is because he's only going to be about 3% owned. He's projected at 11.5 fantasy points here this week. Same point projection as Jacoby Myers. He's a little bit less expensive at 4,800 DraftKings salary, 1,600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 43.5 points scored in this game, with the Texans trailing by 4. So Brandon Cooks, he was injured, but he came back last game and scored 13 fantasy points off of 9 pass targets. And he's got a great matchup this week. I think it's going to be a good game script for him as well. So I like Brandon Cooks here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the tight end position. I like Evan Ingram, or I'll say my Millionaire Maker tight end is Evan Ingram from the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing the Houston Texans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing tight ends. Evan Ingram has averaged 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.1 pass targets per game. But you'll see those targets per game have come up quite a bit the past few games. He's been on the field for 77% of the snaps, going to be about 8% owned, projected at 12.2 fantasy points here this week. He's 4,400 DraftKings salary, 1,400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 43.5 points scored in this game, with the Jaguars favored by 4. So Evan Ingram has scored 21, 14, and 42 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 8, 10, and 15 pass targets. So monster volume, monster production, price tag is low, Ownership is right around where it should be. A lot of good tight ends on the slate this week. So I like Evan Ingram here versus the Houston Texans.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite
Player for this NFL slate.
I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck. You've unlocked the bonus content.
Okay guys, here we are in the DraftKings lineup optimizer. Over here on Draft Dashboard, we have our Millionaire Maker core locked in here and we've generated a lineup. So let's see who we got. We got Daniel Jones, James Conner, Alvin Kamara, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, Keenan Allen, Evan Ingram, Jacoby Myers, and the Patriots defense. Absolutely love this lineup. I'm surprised that Jerry Jeudy only going to be about 3% owned. So we got Brandon Cooks and Jerry Jeudy at 3% ownership. And then the rest of our plays are pretty decent ownership, nothing crazy, great tournament lineup. So I'm going to save this so I can optimize it later if anything changes. Okay, now here we are in the FanDuel lineup optimizer. Over here on Draft Dashboard, we have our Millionaire Maker core locked in here, and we've generated a lineup. So let's see who we got. Daniel Jones, Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson, Brandon Cooks, Evan Ingram, Isaiah Pacheco, and the Saints defense. So saving a little bit of salary on the Saints defense here versus the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think that's a pretty good place to save salary. I think the Eagles might not push it here this week. And the Saints have a good defense, so they could put up a surprising number of fantasy points here. So Christian McCaffrey, he's a stud. Going to be about 35% owned, so he could absolutely go off this game. Allen Lazard at 6,200, I think is a great play for the Green Bay Packers. And then I believe that the New York Jets are getting their quarterback Mike White back. So you got Garrett Wilson in there at only 3% ownership. And Evan Ingram's down at 3% ownership here on FanDuel. So I like this lineup. I like the DraftKings lineup a little bit better, but this lineup is pretty good, so I'm going to save it and so that I can optimize it later if anything changes.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite
Player for this NFL slate.
I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.